Good morning. Today is Thursday, September 18th, 2025. Let's pose a philosophical question. Why does God save Nineveh? Right, that's the point of the whole story, that Yona is sent to Nineveh to warn the people, if you don't change your behavior, you're going to be destroyed. The people listen to him. They change their behavior, and God does not destroy them. But as we saw yesterday, the people of Nineveh, which is the capital of Ashur, they're so wicked, and they have done so much harm already to the Jewish people, and they will do a more complete destruction of the entire northern kingdom shortly after this. Why does God save Nineveh? Let's discuss the Torah reading for the first day, for Rosh Hashanah. On the second day of Rosh Hashanah, the Torah reading is the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. Okay, we understand why that is appropriate. First of all, it demands obedience to God, and certainly that's an important theme of Rosh Hashanah. There's the connection between the ram that was actually sacrificed and the shofar. So we understand the second day Torah reading. But what about the Torah reading on the first day? Now, the Torah reading on the first day is the passage just before the Akedah. So if you look at the 2 days, you're actually reading one long passage with more than one story in it. But they're contiguous. But the reading of the first day doesn't seem to be that dramatic, and it doesn't seem to have anything to do with Rosh Hashanah. On the first day we read, Vashem pokad Sarah kasher amar, God remembered Sarah, and Sarah became pregnant, even though she and Abraham were of very great age. And they had a son, and they called their son Yitzchak, Isaac. Now remember that Avram already had a son who was older from his maidservant Hagar, and his name was Yishmael. So this is the first baby born to Avram and Sarah, but Avram already has a son. Vatera Sarah es ben Hagar hamitris, asher yalda Avram etzachek. Sarah saw that Yishmael was mistreating her son Yitzchak. Vatomer Avram Goresh ha'ama hazos vespana. And she says to Abraham, send this woman and her son away. Abraham was very reluctant to do so. After all, this is his son, Yishmael. Vayomer Elokim el Avram, and God said to Abraham, Kol asher tomer elecha Sarah, shma b'kola. Everything that Sarah said, as difficult as it is for you personally, do what she says. So Avram sends Hagar and Yishmael away. He gives them a loaf of bread and a jug of water because they're living in the desert. So he sends her away. They get lost in the desert. They run out of water. And it appears that they are both going to die of thirst in the desert. Hagar moves away from her son Yishmael because she does not want to see him suffering. By Yishmael Elokim es kol hanar, God heard the sound of the boy who was crying. Vayomer la, and said to her, Malach Hagar, what's wrong, Hagar? Al tiri, don't be afraid. Ki shama Elokim el kol hanar, because God has heard the cry of the boy, Ba'asher Husham, in his Ba'asher Husham, where he is now, in his present state. That is, God heard the cry of the boy where he was in this state of almost dying because of thirst in the desert. And God provides miraculously water and food, and they survive, and Yishmael grows up and becomes the head of a great nation. Okay, so we know the origin of Yishmael, which, why is that so important to us? Because it's not part of the Jewish people. We know that Avraham listened to Sarah. Okay, that's a really important lesson. It's the advice that I give to all husbands. Whatever your wife says, listen to her. Same thing that God said to Avraham. Okay, that's important advice. But I mean, where's the drama? I mean, what does this have to do with Rosh Hashanah? I mean, it's not just that we're reading this because the next day is the next passage. I mean, that doesn't make sense. We could choose any passage in the entire Torah that's appropriate for Rosh Hashanah. Listen, please, to what Rashi says. The Torah says, God says to Hagar, don't be afraid, because God heard the cry of the boy, Ba'asher Husham, as he is there. What do those words mean? As he is there. He's thirsty, God's going to provide water. Listen to what Rashi says. Ba'asher Husham, Lefi Masim Shehu Ose Achshav, Hu Nidon. This boy is being judged by God according to his actions at this moment. Ba'asher Husham means God looks at the boy at this moment. Why is that important? V'lo lefi mashu asid lasos. And God does not judge the boy based on his future actions. Because there were angels in heaven that were protesting against what God was doing to save Yishmael. Because Yishmael grew up and became the head of a nation called Edom, and they were enemies of the Jewish people. So the angels in heaven were arguing with God. Va'omrim, and they said, Ribono Shalom, Master of the world, Misha Asid Zaro, Lahamis Banecha. This person is going to grow up and he's going to kill Jews. He's going to be an enemy of the Jewish people. Atamalalo Ber? You're going to make a miracle for him that there should be a well, that he should survive? If he does not survive, Jews will not be killed. If he survives, Jews will be killed. So why in the world, God, are you doing this with a miracle? V'hu meshivam. And God responded to the angels and said, Achshav mahu. Tell me right now, is he innocent or guilty? At this moment, Ba'asher Husham. Tzaddik or Rasha? Is he a tzaddik or is he a Rasha, an evil person? Right now. Don't talk to me about the past. Don't talk to me about the future, but Ba'asher Hu Sham, right now. Tzaddik, right now he's righteous. He's a little boy. He didn't do anything wrong. Amar Lehem, God said to the angels, Lifi Masav Shel Achshav Ani Danu. I will judge him according to his behavior now. V'zehu, and this is the meaning of the phrase, Ba'asher Hu Sham, as he is there, in the state that he is there, based on his actions right now. This is a principle of God's abundant mercy, that God will judge a person Ba'asher Hu Sham. Why does God do that? So I'll share with you the insight of Rabbi Yochanan's Zweig. The reason that God does this is because when a person commits a sin, the sin is external to the person. They're responsible for it, but it's not their essence. And this is one of the most important themes of Rosh Hashanah, especially, but also Yom Kippur. A person does sins. Yes, God Nebuch, but it happens. A person does sins, but a person is not sinful. They're a person who has an essence that's pure. We say in our prayers every morning, Neshama shenasati bi tahorihi, the soul that you gave me is pure. Okay, I messed it up by doing this wrong and this wrong, that's wrong. But that's external. The soul remains pure. And this is the message of the Torah reading on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. That when God is going to look at us, God looks at us Ba'asher Hu Sham, as we are then. This is what the ceremony of Tashlich is about. And this is so misunderstood. There is a practice on the first day, afternoon of Rosh Hashanah, or if the first day is Shabbos, we go on the second day, to go to a body of water, and we say the following verses from the prophet Micah. Mi kel kamocha. Who is merciful like you, God? No say avon va'over al pesha l'sheris nachalaso. You forgive iniquity and you pass over transgressions. Lo hechazit la'arapo. You do not retain your anger forever. Ki chafetz chesed hu, because you want to do kindness with us. God wants to do kindness with us. Yashuv yirachamenu. Have mercy on us again. Yichbo shavonasenu. Push down our sins. V'sashlich bimsulas yom kol chatosam. And metaphorically throw our sins into the water. Because the sin is not me. The sin is a burden that I'm carrying. So what I want God to do is, I want God to help me get rid of that sin. So the metaphor that the prophet uses is, help me get rid of that sin which is external to my essence, as if, it's a metaphor, as if we're throwing it into the sea. It's very, very often misunderstood. People think that you're supposed to throw something into the water. No, you're not. The whole idea of throwing bread, it's wrong, it's not. No, it's a misunderstanding. The reason we go to a body of water is to say this paragraph and to think to ourselves of this concept, Ba'asher Hu Sham. God, if you'll help me throw off my sins because they're external to me, then at this moment I will be innocent, and you can judge me as innocent. That's the ceremony of Tashlich. Now, please keep in mind, this is something that only God can do. Only God can judge in this manner. Human beings can't. This never enters into a human judgment. A court would never act like this. Because right now you're not doing anything wrong. So the fact that you killed somebody yesterday, we're not going to let you go. Forget it. No, it doesn't work like that. Human justice does not work like that. Not allowed. But God does. We depend for our lives on this principle, Basher Husham. And that's the reason that this is the Torah reading for the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Not just because it's the introduction to the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, on the second day. But the message of the first day is because people can change. I can change. Look at me today, God. Today I'm in shul. Today I regret the mistakes that I made. Today I commit not to do them again. Today I'm asking you for your compassion, and I'm asking you for your intimacy. Judge me as I am today. Don't look at all the times that I was davening and I wasn't really paying attention, or I missed davening. Don't look at the times that may happen in the future that, hopefully it won't happen. But what if I miss a time of davening in the future? But today I'm davening. Judge me based on how I am right now. Our lives depend on Basher Husham, because without Basher Husham, none, God forbid, I don't even want to say the words, none of us would survive. When there was, in former times, a public fast day, we don't do this today, but if there would be a public fast day, let's say because there's a lack of rain and the people are suffering because of it. So there was a certain procedure that was used. And the elder, the rabbi or the leader of that place, would give a speech. And it was a set speech. That's great. I always think to have a speech that you're required to say these words every time. You don't have to write it. You don't have to be creative. You say what you're supposed to say. All right. Hazaken shebem omer lifneim divrei kivushim. The elder of them would speak to them words to try to change their heart, and would say to them, Achenu, my brothers and sisters, Lo nemar ba'anshe Ninveh vayar Elokim es sakam vestanisam. Remember, when Yona went to Nineveh and he said, 40 days hence, Nineveh will be destroyed. And the people immediately put on sackcloth and they fasted and they changed their behavior, and therefore God changed his decree based on this principle, Basher Husham. It works for enemies, it works for everybody, not just for Jewish people. The Torah, so the speech goes like this. It does not say Vayar Elokim es sakam vestanisam. It does not say that God saw that they put on sackcloth or that they were fasting. Ela Vayar Elokim es maseyem ki shavo midarkam hara. is one of the psukim in the book of Yona. We'll read it. God saw that they began to change their ways. And once they changed their ways, once they changed their evil behavior, and we know it wasn't permanent, right? From yesterday, we know that they had already attacked and killed and exiled Jews, and they were going to do it again. They were going to completely destroy the northern kingdom of Israel and 10 lost tribes. But God judges them b'asher hu sham. Right now, they changed their ways. God says, I will judge them. And that's why, remember when you read it again in the story, and that's why Yona is so upset, right? Because Yona says to God, that's why I ran away, because I knew you were going to do this. But God says, listen, I make the rules, Yona, not you. The principle b'asher hu sham. That's one of the reasons that we read this on Yom Kippur, because it is the central lesson of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, even more than Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, God, I'm acting like an angel. I'm standing, I'm wearing white garments, I'm not eating, I'm not drinking, I'm like an angel. Look at me now, judge me as I am now. B'asher hu sham, it saves our lives. And what that means is, no matter how bad a person is, no matter how far they have strayed from the right path, no matter how ingrained their sinful ways are, we can change. Because b'asher hu sham means that the sin remains external to my essence. Listen to this verse, this passage from earlier in the book of Yona. Vayiman Hashem dag gadol livlo es Yona. God arranged a big fish, a whale, whatever it was, to swallow Yona. Vayihi Yona b'mei hadag shlosha yamim v'shlosha leilos. And Yona was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. Now listen carefully. Vayispalel Yona el Hashem Elokav. Yona prayed to God, mime'ei hadaga, from the belly of the whale. It doesn't matter how far away you are. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. You can always pray to God. You can always decide to change your behavior. Even if you are in the belly of a whale, God will hear your prayer. Even if you have strayed so far and what you've done is so ingrained, you can change. All we have to do is try. All we have to do is on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur to be sincere, to try to change. But this is another major theme of Yona and of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Doesn't matter where we are physically, it doesn't matter where we are emotionally, it doesn't matter where we are spiritually. We can be in a place of death. Rebirth can come from a place of death. And that's the reason that Yom Kippur is the greatest, happiest, most wonderful and joyous day of the year. Because it's the day that everyone gets another chance because of this principle, b'asher hu sham. and applies to every single person. And if you think that you are not included in this, I'm speaking to you. You're included. If you think that you are too far away, that you're not able to reach out to God, that you don't want to reach out to God, I'm speaking to you. Just like I'm speaking to myself. You can change, and God will accept Basher Husham as you are on that day. And if God treats us like that, shouldn't we treat others like that? I heard this story from Rabbi Yisrael Reisman. There was a Rebbe, a Hasidic Rebbe, of course, a very holy and pious person. And he had a son, Nebuch, that went off the derech, went off the path, didn't believe in God, didn't observe any mitzvahs. But whenever the son would come, the Rebbe would seat his son just to his right. That's the place of honor. And the Hasidim, the followers, were embarrassed. Okay, he's your son, so he's going to come. But to put him in the place of honor, a person who doesn't believe in God, a person who doesn't observe mitzvahs, you have all of these students in Hasidim that are pious and scholarly, and you're showing honor to this person, it's embarrassing. So they decided that they would send a delegation. A group of them would go to the Rebbe before Rosh Hashanah. And they would say to him, Rebbe, respectfully, we would appreciate it if your son would sit somewhere else. We're not telling him not to come, but just not right there at the front next to you. They went to the Rebbe's house. They went to the door of his study. And before they knocked on the door, they could hear him inside. And it was just before Rosh Hashanah. And the Rebbe was in his study and he was praying to God. And he was saying to God, Master of the universe, forgive your people. Forgive the Jewish people, even though they sin. He said to God, Master of the universe, I have a son who sins. See how I treat him? I put him in the place of honor. Master of the universe, you do the same with your children. And the Hasidim turned around and left because they had their answer. That's Basher Husham. That's the Torah reading of the first day of Rosh Hashanah. That's the basis of the story of Nineveh. And we have to make it our story for ourselves. My friends, I want to wish you a great day. And I look forward to seeing you soon in person.